The latest Western Cape Education Department's annual report, it deals with things like the number of disciplinary charges against teachers for corporal punishment and the like, and those are numbers which are a little disturbing. But the number I want to focus on now is 1,200 teachers resigning in the year between April last year and March of this year. And of those roughly 1,200, 772 between the ages of 25 and 39. And the report also speaks to significant difficulties in retaining teachers in high crime areas. And we know that there is an unfortunately high number of high crime areas in and around Cape Town. Basil Manuel is Executive Director of Naptosa, the National Professional Teachers Organization. Hello, Basil.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be with you.
Basil, to try and sort of put the Western Cape numbers in perspective, are they worse, pretty much on a par with the number of resignations as a percentage of the total teaching workforce in the provinces?
I think they're a little higher than most, but not higher than Gauteng. And that is for a variety of reasons. Also, in trying to disaggregate this year, we've discovered that it's more younger teachers than older teachers.
And given the fact that we know what the percentage is of teachers who are reaching retirement age, the fact that the younger teachers who would move up and perhaps into the more senior positions, that they're exiting the system, that's a particular worry.
It is a worry, but it's not surprising, given that your younger teacher is more mobile. They are able to exercise choices such as, I'm going to find a better job, I'm going to find one with less pressure, smaller classes. Those decisions are taken far more easily than somebody that has a family and that is settled and has a house that needs to be sold and things like that.
Is there any kind of follow-up work done so that these teachers, how many move into jobs other than education? How many move into online education, into the private school system? Do we have any idea?
We haven't been able to get that data. I actually tried to, but the department hasn't come back to me with that because I wanted to know if we are aware of how many have actually left the country.
And perhaps
Because we
teaching
would
elsewhere in
teaching
United Arab
elsewhere,
Emirates or wherever else.
or how many have gone into private education,
Mm.
because that's the other attraction. But we don't know exactly. But I would imagine that in our English-speaking economies of the world, there are a number of posts that and a number of agencies that are attracting people. I was at the AFT Congress in the United States, and they're having a shortage of teachers. That's the American Federation of Teachers. And their solution was, let's look towards South Africa, let's look towards the islands, let's look towards Britain and so on to attract teachers. And of course, it's dollars and so on, and so it becomes a little more attractive. But it's also the conditions. And when you remember that at the beginning of this year, a large number of teachers in the Western Cape were retrenched. And the whole spectre of having a much larger class in a difficult to teach at school because it's in a school in an area racked by violence or something like this makes the decision a little more easy.
Yeah, I just listened to our news and the reports come in of the numbers of young children, school-going children, teens who are not in school, people in their 20s, old ladies who are out on the street doing some shopping, being shot, and we hear the police saying we believe it to be gang-related, and it's every day, and it's several times a day, and it's probably, I don't know, 12, 15 areas around Cape Town that feature regularly in our news reports in that way. And you go, wow, you've got to be close to a saint to continue teaching in areas like that. I mean, that wonderful teacher, I think, was from Lotus River, playing music to the kids to deafen the sound of the gunfire. Wow, what an incredible human being you must be to stay in an environment like that as a teacher, as an educator.
Absolutely. You know, I spoke to a teacher recently that is teaching in Delft. And she says, I wouldn't change it for the world. The kids are wonderful. What happens around us scares us. It's frightening. But the children are more frightened than we are. And we've got to protect them. And it shows you the depth of care that a lot of people have. And that's amazing. I don't know if I would be able to say such a thing.
And Basil, I'm sure there are no easy solutions. If there were easy solutions, one would hope that they would have been implemented. There are, there are resource constraints. Violence in township areas, in Cape Flats areas, is not going to be done away with overnight. It's not going to be done away with in the next decade, probably. So, what are the important elements of a solution to slow down the exit of teachers from the profession and the entrance into the profession of people who want to devote a career to education?
Mr. Maytham, one of the tragedies is that the department doesn't think it's a crisis yet, because at this moment we are producing more teachers than we can place in posts. But it's a false sense of security. We know, all studies show, that we are going to hit a dip. We are in a bad economic situation, so people do go into jobs that are seen to be safer. So the one thing we have to do is to protect schools first. If schools can become safe havens where we know they are appropriately fenced, I'm not one that advocates for security guards and the like, but it must be part of a broader solution. But if the school is seen as safe, and even the community, this very violent community, sees the school in the same way that we tend to think about places of worship, that no, this is a no-go zone, that begins to change the culture of children coming to school, first of all, because they want to be there, they want to be in a safe space, and also the freedom that teachers will feel within such a school space. Now, it's a tall order, but that is actually what we have to start with. Schools must become safe spaces, safe havens for all the children around the area.
Basil Manuel, thank you as always for your, I was going to say calm, but your rational contribution to these very important debates. Basil Manuel is the Executive Director of the National Professional Teachers Organisation, Naptosa. Just to say that we did reach out to David Maytham, the Minister for Education in the Western Cape, but he is too busy to talk to us.